While others may find the forest in the dark unsettling, I have always found something uniquely peaceful about walking through the forest at night. There would be no one but me and the sound of the wind in the trees, the rustle of small animals in the fallen leaves, and the crunch of the forest floor beneath my boots. I decided to take a walk through the woods of my hometown. I always did when life was too much, and today I needed to clear my head. Yes, peace and quiet. I said to myself, starting the hour-long walk I had taken countless times before. The walk ended at a beautiful lake near where I used to play as a child. This is where I needed to be, where I needed to be. The lake had always made me intensely nostalgic for a past life I wished I could return to, a life I would never forget. Moonlight illuminated most of my trail, and for a while I didn't need a flashlight. The forest made familiar sounds. What I didn't expect was the quiet rumble of thunder in the distance. Oh no, please, not rain. I wasn't dressed properly for the storm, but nothing was going to stop me from reaching my destination. I continued on. I knew the forest like the back of my hand, every tree. Every rock was a sort of navigational tool for me. The lake wasn't far away, about half an hour away, and it was then that I heard something that caught me off guard. Laughter. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was faint and clearly somewhere in the distance. It was a woman's laugh, not a maniacal laugh, but a playful giggle. It was enough to make me uneasy. However, I told myself that it must just be the noise of the forest or some animal, and continued on my way. I reached the lake and found a place to sit down. The moonlight reflected off the water, illuminating the entire lake. I grabbed a stick and held it across the lake, listening to the sound of the water rippling lightly. I sat there for a long time and completely forgot about the giggling I had heard earlier. I didn't feel like leaving, but the time was getting close to evening and I thought it was time to go back, so I stood up, and then I gasped. There was a woman walking along the lake. She took me by surprise. Why was she coming in so late? I noticed that, oddly enough, she was naked. However, she was not ugly, but beautiful. The night was cold, and I immediately thought she was in danger. "Hey, are you okay?" She didn't answer, just stood there looking at me, and smiled. There was a soft rumble of thunder again, and the looming clouds began to cover the moon. I couldn't see her anymore. All I could hear was the quiet echo of giggles over the lake. All the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I didn't know why. I wanted to go around the lake and try to help her, but something told me to leave now. I turned around and walked back the way I came. But with each step I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind me. I could feel the stares on me like daggers around my neck. I didn't turn around, I was scared. Was it her? What did she want? I didn't turn around, I kept walking, until I heard a whisper behind me.
"Turn around."
I jumped out of my skin, turned around quickly, and found her standing behind me with her arms down along her body like a soldier standing in formation. I turned on my flashlight and pointed it at her. Something wasn't right. Her teeth were black, and her eyes. They had no irises, just two white eyes with a pair of tiny pupils. Her smile stretched across her face, and as she smiled, black liquid flowed from the corner of her mouth.
"Don't forget,"
she said, after which she giggled playfully again. With those words, she slowly crawled back into the forest and hid behind a tree. I didn't follow her. I turned around and walked as fast as I could. I knew that if I ran, I would get lost, and it was starting to rain. It was so dark that I could only see what my flashlight illuminated. Finally, I came to a clearing where the trail split. I recognized the tree standing between the two trails. I had seen it countless times before. No, what? Is it? Is that on the left or the right? How could I not remember? I'd walked this path hundreds of times. It was like muscle memory. Okay, think about it. Think about it. It's on the left. It should be on the left. I quickly followed the trail to the left and almost immediately heard that laughter again, but this time it was loud and hysterical. I shined my flashlight through the trees. The laughter seemed to come from everywhere, until suddenly it stopped. I turned my attention back to the road, and there it was. She She wasn't smiling anymore, just looking at me. Her appearance seemed to have changed again. Her arms had become unnaturally long, almost touching the floor, and her skin was dead pale and gray. She took a step forward towards me and I took a step back. She whispered,
Don't forget.
A smile reappeared on her face, and the black liquid flowed from her mouth again, this time like a river of blood flowing down her neck and chest. I froze in fear as I watched her bend down on all fours and slowly creep up around me, disappearing again. It took me a while to come back to reality. I looked around the forest in front of me. I couldn't remember anything. The road ahead, the trees, everything seemed foreign to me. All I could do was follow the path ahead of me and hope to God that it would lead me out of the forest. The forest was quiet now. The rain had stopped. There was no wind, no rustling of leaves, no crickets, no birds, nothing. I tried to remember how long I had been on this path, but I couldn't seem to remember anything but the woman. I didn't even remember how I got into the woods or why. I stopped in the middle of the trail, desperately looking around for something to jog my memory while the deafening silence continued. Nothing could remind me where I was or how to escape. When my eyes looked around, they stopped on something unusual. Something seemed to have taken up residence in the tree. I slowly walked forward and realized it was the words. Once I got close enough, I was able to read the words.
Don't look at it. Don't listen to it.
My flashlight began to flicker. No, 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 please, no. I slapped it against my palm until it thankfully came back to life, and then the forest was no longer silent. I could hear breathing, heavy, labored breathing, almost like a person having an asthma attack. I pointed my flashlight at the noise and saw a hand clutching the edge of a tree. I couldn't see the body, just the hand, but it was so high up in the tree that the thing must have been at least 8 feet tall. The breathing didn't stop and my torch began to flicker again. For whatever it was beginning to move. It slowly tilted its head around the tree to look at me. 2 huge white eyes stared into my very soles. I wanted to close my eyes and cover my ears with my hands, but I froze again. Look at me, it said. Then it took a slow, giant step from behind the tree to appear before me. The smile returned to its face, and it had never looked more unnatural than it did in that moment. It was huge. It was even taller than I thought it would be, almost as big as the trees it was climbing through. Its arms were long and bony, and its spine was twisted and curved. He struggled, moving slowly toward me, as if his body was being manipulated like a marionette. Then he stopped in front of me and slowly bent over to go on all fours, with his body clicking and snapping.
Listen,
he said. As he said it, he inhaled the words as if he was panting. His smile spread across his haggard gray face, and his cold white eyes didn't blink. As if nothing could get worse at that moment, my flashlight failed and went out. I was in total darkness, seeing nothing. I could hear it coming as my legs began to shake and give way. I fell to my knees. The closer he got to me, the more it smelled like decomposing flesh, and the sound of bones breaking as he moved across the floor got louder and louder until I could feel his breath on my face. I closed my eyes and tears began to roll down my cheeks. I braced myself for the end, and then I felt a cold hand touch my cheek, wiping the tears from my face.
goodbye.
He said, and all sounds disappeared again. That was the last time I saw it. I'm still here. I don't remember my name. I don't know this place. Why am I here? How do I get out? I don't remember.